We're here again. We're on an investigation. I think this is our 8th one or 7th one. I don't know which.
One of those.
One of those. One of the 13 that we'll be doing this year. So we're over halfway done.
We are.
Believe it or not. So Milton's a great place. The town was named after John Milton, the poet. He wrote Paradise Lost. He was kind of a guy before his time. He believed in the press. He also believed in freedom of speech. It was very controversial back in the day.
Right.
They tried to change his poems before they were in print, and he fought that.
Censorship.
Exactly. So, no wonder the town picked him as the name, because he was a great man. We're in an old house. The name of it is?
It's the Adkins Draper house.
Right. And it was built in?
Around 1748, 1749.
Yeah. And back in the day, see, this was a shipbuilder town. And it served many uses, a button factory in a day and all that stuff. It had a lot of things going on. But the main thing is, it was an inland port. An inland port means that you had to go around land to get to it, but you could still get it to it from the sea.
Right.
Unlike Lewis, which is a town that's right on the ocean front, that when in the War of 1812 got hit by guns, by British guns and things.
Right.
So what they did is they decided to use this port instead because it was an inland port. And same with the Civil War. You had a lot more trade through here because of the war, because they didn't want to go into Lewis itself, because it's safer to come around here.
Sure. Because
there's a land mass.
Easier to protect.
Exactly. So it picked up, the shipbuilders picked up soon after the Civil War, on to the
1849.
Something like that.
1848.
So that was the peak of this. And most of these homes here, the flooring, like the flooring in this house here, was built by ship carpenters.
Right, they were unemployed at the time.
They built a lot of these homes. I think some of these homes were slave labor too.
I'm sure.
So it has a great past, and with the great past, sometimes you have great things. Anything else about this house you want to share?
I know that the house was owned by the Adkins family for over 100 years, actually, from 1848 to 1949.
Wow. So in that background, we had some people that did die,
right,
and all that. I did see the Revolutionary War. Some of the older part of the house, which is the next room over, was, how old is that one?
1710.
Which is pretty old.
The dining room.
Yeah. So they had one room they lived in.
Right.
So, and they added on to it around it.
Sure.
So we've got all our cameras placed and things. Anything else?
It was owned by the Adkins family, and then the Draper family bought it and restored it.
Okay. All right. And they owned it until?
They owned it for, I believe, around 50 years.
Okay. All right. So it has a great past. It's a very unique house on the outside. The only paranormal things we have on, we'll talk about that when we get into the next room.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Steve. Steve has some of his toys, his paranormal toys, we call them. See, Delmarva Historic Haunts believes in using everything we can to get what we can. Some of these things, people say that are, they don't work, or you might as well leave them at home. But I believe in using everything we can to get what we can get.
Sure.
If it's some of this stuff, some of the investigators have certain toys they like to use, or certain tools. Some of them don't like the tools and they don't think they work.
Sure.
I think that sometimes some tools work in some locations and some don't. Some tools I'd rather not use, and I express it, and some you don't use, and some we both use.
Right.
So I'm wide open to that, because the paranormal field is a wide open field. You think it's science, right? But if it's science, we're just scratching the surface of it. Now we are 60% science, so we're willing to debunk certain things. Like I'm on the line with torching,
You are.
I'm on the line with torching, and I'm on the line with the ghost meter, and I'm on the line with a lot of things. That doesn't mean, just because you see it on film, does not mean that we use it as evidence itself. Correct. We have to have something else go on. Now, if we have an EVP going on with the ghost meter going off, we're going to say something about that.
Sure.
So, just so you know, each group has a different path that they follow. This is our path. We don't knock anybody else's path.
Right.
We know, if you believe in what you believe in, we're not going to knock your beliefs at all.
Right.
We don't throw sand.
We don't.
We don't throw sand in the sandbox, right?
Right.
All right. So let's go over and see Steve, because he's got some more sand for us to watch.
Sweet.
All right. Catch you short. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how y'all?
What's going on? I know you've been setting up cameras and things. I know you've been busy.
I actually broke a sweat tonight.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So we're about to go in, and you have some things for us to see and talk about. You want to talk about the everything box first? Is that what you want to do?
Well, actually, no. This is a little bit different. The ET box right now is sitting on my bench at home in about its 5th iteration of design. I'm hoping to introduce it either by our last investigation this year or our first investigations next year. But it's making progress.
Okay.
So, but what I wanted to talk about tonight, this is actually part 2. We had filmed something about applications that can be run on tablet devices, because we get asked about these.
Right.
And there's a lot of them out there that they're not that great.
Right.
This one, though, I found, it's a product called the Entity Sensor, and I'll come up on the camera just a little bit if you want to focus in on that. And this is actually a really nice product, built into most tablets because they have compasses built in them. They actually have magnetic sensors, which is what we use for EMF testing. So what you see here in this rolling display is magnet readings. And we've also found that with this device, it is very, very sensitive. Now there's a couple of things that I really like about this particular product. This is a commercial product, but it's very inexpensive. It's about $5 to buy the application. So if you've got a tablet, this is a really neat tool for doing some research. Why do I like this? Well, I'm a nerd. And
no,
it's true. It's true. And this has a couple of really nice features. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. So it's not just taking magnetic readings, but when the readings get high enough, it kicks on a tape recorder and starts looking for EVP phenomena.
Wow.
Not only that, but I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and I'm going to go over here to the files, and it has actually graphed the session that we were just discussing. And you can see there, I'll turn it sideways, and I'll come in on the camera so you can see that, because you really can't see it. But what that's doing is, it's actually recording the session so that I have a data that I can put into a spreadsheet.
Right.
And I can keep scientific tallies of the data, and then I can correspond any kind of magnetic phenomenon with any kind of other phenomenon that we're getting. So it's getting all my timestamps off of this, so it's recording times, it's recording the amount of magnetic activity. But because this is so sensitive, I usually like to leave it in one spot and come back to it. Right. But that's really nice because it's actually recording, and I can go back and see if there's any anomalous phenomena.
It's only $5.
About $5, yeah.
Cool.
It's a really nice product. This is an Android tablet. I'm not sure what's out there for the Apple, but I know you can get this out on the Google site.
Okay, cool.
And it is called the, again, it is the Entity Sensor Pro.
Okay, cool.
Neat product.
And you have something else cheap for us too.
I do. And this is one I learned from you, Rick. It's a simple battery tester. And the theory is, and the jury's out on this, because I have not seen this phenomenon yet, but I understand that in the presence of anomalous phenomenon, sometimes we see battery drainage. And I know if you've seen any of the shows out there, if you've seen any of the movies.
We've experienced that.
Okay.
cameras draining and so forth.
Gotcha. I have not had it happen to me yet.
Yeah, well, you haven't been out as much as we have.
That's very true. That's very true.
We've been going out for a long time.
We have, for years, yeah.
I've been working on it. But in any event, really simple. And what you do is you just plug a battery into this. Now, let me see if I can set that right. There we go. And you can see that the battery meter says good. I'll come closer to the camera. The battery meter says good. Little meter there, very simple. And you can tell with a fresh battery whether or not you get battery drain.
Right, and I had my camera go a couple of times, so I put that in the room, and that went one night.
Wow.
So there you go.
And see, this is the thing, I believe, Rick, you were talking about this earlier. We don't know what's happening with a lot of this stuff. Do we know that EMF meters work? No, but we know that EMF meters seem to do strange things at weird times. Do we count on something like this or something like the tablet specifically for what it is we do? No, but we look at multiple things. So, I know there's a lot of controversy about some of the tools that we use.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is whenever possible, we like to gather that data.
Yeah.
And wherever we're getting that data from,
Right.
is, as long as we're getting information.
Right, and we usually get it when we get it from multiple things, that's when we tell the client or whoever, that is what we got.
Yep, absolutely.
If it's just a ghost meter or just torching, we can add that to it to say it happened, but we can't really use it as a paranormal fact of evidence that we got for that moment.
Absolutely, and so, look, some of the best stuff that we get a lot of times is on our K2 meters, our tri-field meters,
Sure.
Things like this, magnetometers, where it's reading magnetic background information.
I mean, in some cases, the K2s are good, a useful tool, and some of them they're not.
Right.
It just depends on where it's at.
Right. Well, you were talking about torching.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a big fan of torching. I think there's other explanations for what's happening.
Right.
But if you get torching, and then you've got meters going off, and then at the same time, you're getting EVP phenomenon, or you're getting your REM pods going off, or
Right.
you've got,
Right. And we'll talk about torching in another time.
Right. But that's when things get really interesting.
Yeah.
And look, folks, I mean, I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but even, when I start seeing stuff like that, I gotta say,
That's
interesting's going on.
Yeah, interesting. And that's what it's all about. It's trying to use something, seeing if it works. If it doesn't work, we say it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
But we never use something that doesn't work as evidence.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
And sometimes the simplest tools like this are the best.
Yeah.
They're the most dependable thing you've got.
this is the oldest part of the house.
Yes,
that we
built in
talked-
1710.
And people have seen a black child.
Yes, the little African American girl.
Exactly at that door there.
Okay.
So that was a servant's door. So that ought to be interesting. So we've got a tri-field there and a stationary, and see if anything happens there. Okay, and we also have a camera pointing at that.
We do.
That's the only thing that people, there's always talk in town about some haunted places in town. This is one of the ones they say it is. So, but that's the only story that we have here.
Very exciting.
But there was slaves here. We do have a camera upstairs that has that probably was slave quarters at the time when we have a camera pointing in there.
Yes.
So okay, and you'll see that some of the house by cameras. Place is huge.
It's magnificent.
All right,
beautiful.
All right, so we're going to set things up, and we'll see you in a short.